What unsupervised childhood activities did you participate in that probably should have killed you? Swimming in the drainage canal by my house. Barbed wire, horse scrap, concrete, fertilizer runoff, etc. How many nipples you got there, bucko? They're udders now, thank you very much. That was pretty damn funny. I grew up on an Air Force base, and back behind the school was an old pond with suspicious rainbow ripples that was surrounded by 50-gallon barrels. We called it the Devil's Claw and spent the entire summer there every year. I looked it up recently and yep, it's a super fun site because it was the jet fuel dump. Yeah, you should get tested for jet fuel contaminate in your system. That crap's really toxic and it can stay in your system for decades. My cousins and I, from the time we were toddlers, were just sent out into the forest in the morning with nothing but whistles to scare the bears. One time I chased a bear. I swear to God my grandpa tells us the same story. Is this some time wrap crap going on here? Time wrap. Keeps the memories fresh. The Great Rock Wars. In grade school we played this during recess. We just whipped pebbles at each other. Hard. Also, I pay homage to my fallen 4th grade friend, may we never forget you. Time out, did this friend die during the Rock Wars? We don't talk about the Rock Wars. Still too soon. Most people don't get it, the Rock Wars were never really about the rocks. It was always the stones. Never the rocks. Did you live in Derry, Maine and hang out with Beverly, Stan, and Bill by chance? I remember this too. Just huge games of hurling rocks at each other. I switched schools in 3rd grade and got in immediate trouble at my first recess when I tried this. I explained that we did it all the time at my old school. Not sure the principal believes me. Dang. We used to go to this construction site that had dirt clods. We'd throw those at each other because the dirt clod would explode on impact and didn't hurt that bad. Occasionally, there'd be a rock in one and that hurt. Also knew kids that would shoot BB guns at each other. Shaking my head. I grew up in Kigali, Rwanda. After the 1994 genocide there were landmines all over the place. We used to walk to our primary school, about 1.5 kilometers. As kids we used to play soccer on the street while walking to school, so one day the ball fell in the bush as always, and I went for it. Little did I know the stone-like thing under the ball was a notorious landmine. I got the ball and I asked the other older kid what it was. 10 minutes later the entire neighborhood was on site talking about how I just cheated death. Never will I ever forget it. If I stepped on the mine that afternoon, I wouldn't be writing this today. Glad you're here to write this comment. Damn, that's scary. Feel like using mines should be a war crime punishable by demining labor. Not marking their location is a war crime. We used to play with chemicals in my neighbor's garage. Like combine all different kinds of chemicals we could find, I would assume lawn care and car chemicals, in her garage into a hole in the cement floor. At least we were smart or lucky enough to keep the garage door open. My greatest discovery at around 12 years old doing that was finding out brake fluid and chlorine for the pool combust when mixed. Soon my friends and I were doing all kinds of crazy crap with the mixture. The best was driving a pipe into the ground a few feet long, and putting the chlorine and brake fluid in there and watching the dragon fire shoot out the pipe. It's not an immediate reaction, kind of a slow burn till it bursts into a furious hellfire. Yeah, I have all those things. BRB. RIP. User Ilika Porsches, are you okay? Reddit link. Oh no, he hasn't answered. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Burst through the wall, oh yeah. Climbing trees way too high. When I was a kid, we used to toss apples under the tree, climb the tree, and when the horses, that my grandparents raised, would come to eat the apples, we would leap on the horses. Most of the time the horse would buck and take off running, with a kid on its back. How are you alive? This is nuts. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Wow, that's scary. Horses can be eaten by larger cats, such as mountain lions and leopards. Probably was terrified when something jumped into it from a hidden spot on a tree and hung on when it ran. You know, as an 11-year-old, that thought never crossed my mind. Lol, you're probably glad you never fell off. Leopards are only 60 pounds and can kill gorillas and drag 3 times their body weight up a tree, and the horse would fall solidly into the prey category. If the horse mistook you for a predator, it could have tried to kill you thinking you were going to eat it. Tree riding. Climb a tree and have your friends cut it down. We would have contests to see who would climb the highest. I won more than once. I cannot fathom how I nor anyone else was not seriously hurt, never mind killed. What in the world? This is one of the crazier ones I've seen in this thread. This reminds me of a version we used to do called tree bolting. Essentially, we'd find trees that had the right thickness to bend well at certain heights and ride the flex down. Usually it was nothing but success. However, there were those times she'd snap unexpectedly and we'd plummet far too high for comfort. My brother got our balls stuck in a tree and we had to put a ladder in the tree to get to the top. I told my brother I would pay him $5 to do it, and I never did. He held that over my head for years, and I finally paid him back when he graduated high school. My mom found out at my wedding during his speech about this and was not happy. My buddies and I restored an old tree house on the outskirts of town that was a good 30 feet in the air. We had to rebuild the ladder to get to the platform and then used a rope to pull up materials. We had a 3-tiered house by the time we were finished. Fun, but dangerous. Climbing trees while way too high. I grew up within the boundaries of Tufts University's campus. At the end of my street was a campus building that was 6 stories high. I remember climbing to the top of the fire escape, stepping over the railing onto the slate-pitched roof. I held onto the dormer and made my way on top of that roof, then I would walk up to the pitch of the roof and straddle the pitch and look out on the Boston skyline. I was under 10 years old. Well over 100 feet up. One slip and I was sidewalk pizza. I can't believe I survived being a latchkey kid in the 80s. We did the same thing on the roof of main building at Vassar in the 80s. I'll bet they've got all access to the roof closed off now. A friend and I also fenced there on the catwalk. We were college students, so no excuse for stupidity. We used to dig tunnels through the hay that they stored in the barn that would be like 10 meters high in places. The tunnels would regularly collapse and we'd just shrug it off and dig another. Quite the same activity, but with snow. Few times in news I've read about child suffocating into a tunnel they made that collapsed. Extra bonus if you could find a half sheet of rotted plywood to use for the roof to your cave and cover it with snow. More points if you let a homeless man pretend to be the monster in the cave who would chase you if you strayed too close. Hey, we did that, too. We had a hayloft and we would purposefully jump from the rafters onto the tunnels to see if we could hit anyone crawling through the tunnels. That is so scary. I would jump on bales, but that was about all I could stomach. We would jump bales and play tag. None of us would blink an eye at making a 4 to 7 feet jump between almost 2 stories up. But as you can imagine, young kids can't really make jumps that long reliably. My sister missed once and fell all the way down between some bales. She got wedged between them and we had to get an adult to pull her out, and she lost a shoe in the process. Don't forget that down on my uncle's farm there were pigs to try to ride on and stored wheat and corn to dive into. Not to mention see if you could hotwire the combine. Previous owner of my childhood home left a bunch of random chemicals in the garage. He was into home improvement and stuff, and my siblings tooled to playing mad scientist. Several instances of unknown gases spreading through the garage later, and we're still around. Let's play Breaking Bad. Sandra. The kids have made meth. Well, they probably have cancer now, so this is the next logical step. My coworker was given a chemistry kit as a kid. Back in the day when things like mercury weren't uncommon. He finished up all the guided experiments and then decided to start making random combinations of stuff. One day he mixed some stuff and it exploded. In his bedroom. Room was covered floor to ceiling in brown smelly goop. Are you sure it wasn't food poisoning? Sounds like some stuff was actually 5 pounds of gummy bears. Sugar-free gummy bears. We would do this in my friend's basement, only after we mixed everything we poured in a jar or downy ball and then try to light it on fire and toss it outside on their porch steps. Thank goodness all of our homemade Molotov cocktails failed. Fire, lots of fire. I almost burned down the house in Mexico when I was like 8. I set a fake plant on fire and ran away. Mom was cooking next door and put the flames out. In the US, I burned a hole in the carpet in my room when I was in middle school. Covered that up with small pink carpet. Parents never found out until I moved out. Me too. I lit a match, then got scared, so my stupid child brain thought throw it in the kitchen cabinet drawer, made of wood. Man. I was a literal arsonist, with a record. Also, don't let those people on Survivor make you think starting a fire is hard. You would think I would have stopped. Nope. Now I am an adult and they are called bonfires. Oh man, and they let you access more chemicals. I await age. Keep waiting. Enjoy the free time. From one pyro to another, never get old. Safety first. Fireworks second. Never get old. From a pyro, this is either terrible advice or a vague threat. When I was a teenager, I decided to take up the hobby of fire arts. I had a fire staff I spun, this thing called fire poi, big wicks on strings you swung around, fire fingers I made myself, and a Samoan fire knife I somehow convinced my dad to make me, half knife half wick which you spin around. I even knew this trick where I'd use kerosene to light part of my hand on fire and use it to light my tools. My parents just indulged me. I guess they figured if I got hurt I'd learn my lesson. OMG, definitely fire. We're lucky to be here. Man, I remember the one and only time a friend started a fire with gasoline on it. Lost some hair. I poured about a half cup of gas on my friend's driveway, and lit it on fire. We watched in horror as the flames grew to about 10 feet high. It burned for a good 5 minutes. Seemed like hours to 14-year-old who is actively freaking out that he may have burnt his friend's house down. Just a 3x3 black spot was the only evidence in the driveway. I never played with fire after that. Growing up in a family that hunted, it wasn't uncommon to find .22 bullets in the garage or in hunting bags. My brother would take bullets that he found, place them on a log, and then smash them with a hammer. Luckily, he outgrew that phase. I hate to be a one-upper, but we would do something similar with .22 and shotgun shells. We were preteens, owners of Red Ryder BB guns, and unsupervised rounds of ammunition. We would get bored at plinking cans, birds, and squirrels, so we lined up shotgun shells and .22 rounds and shot them with our BB guns. We would routinely have to dodge the .22 casings shooting back at us after we hit the primer. Looking back on it, I'm really surprised none of us were seriously injured. Yeah, you could have shot your eye out. Kid. Merry Christmas. Ho ho ho. My grandfather shot himself in a similar fashion. Found an old unused bullet, decided it was a good idea to shoot it with his gun. Yeah guys, what came back to hit him in the leg? How the hell does a round hit your leg while aiming down range in the first place? Actually, that leads into another question. Was he aiming down range when he fired? If you're shooting steel, it can bounce back and hit you. Depending on how close you are. Several times shooting steel with my pistol at 10 yards or so, I've had bits of lead come back and cut my face and arms. TBH, the actual bullet doesn't have much energy when it's not fed down a barrel. It's kind of like a firecracker with a slight chance of losing an eye, and the casing would be more fearsome than the bullet. That's what I was thinking. Without the barrel, the energy of the explosion isn't concentrated into one specific direction. It'll fly somewhere, but it's not like the gun where all of the energy is pushing it faster and faster out of the barrel. Lawn darts. Except no one was throwing M at the rings. Nope, toss them straight up in the sky and scatter. Edit, holy crap. Woke up to a megatron of notices and immediately thought, oh crap, what comment of mine was a total F up? Turns out nope, no F up, just a bunch of kindred souls. Lol, we played scattered darts too. The 80s/early 90s. We had a mini crossbow we'd put full-size arrows in and shoot it straight up and basically play chicken. These answers are all terrible, but I am laughing like a loon at all of them. How are any of y'all alive? The answer, of course, is that the ones who aren't here to answer lol. ETA, honestly not sure why I deserve an award, but I'll take it. Thank you. I still don't know how I'm here, as my dad is the very personification of this thread. He's probably done all this, but the one story that I remember most clearly is he and his brothers would take the lids off trash cans, those circular metal ones, use them as shields, then effing shoot fireworks at each other. It was part of an event called Cracker Night where the whole neighborhood set off fireworks. They're actually illegal now in this country. Frankly, I blame my dad and uncles. I think I know what I'm doing after COVID. Russian roulette with darts, nice. We used to do that with my compound bow. One of my mates tried to catch it once and it almost went right through his hand. Your mate's an idiot. I did something similar in college, but with a compound bow I used for hunting. Shot it straight into the sky and about 8 of us took off running. It took a solid 15 to 20 seconds after firing for the arrow to come back down, driving itself pretty deep into the ground. Those were a pretty terrifying / exciting 15 seconds. Needless to say, if somebody had gotten hit by that, there's a solid chance they'd be dead. We used to do this when I was about 10 to 12 years old. The bow was only 35-pound draw weight on a compact bow, but it could have been trouble. A couple of my arrows were crooked too, so they were wild cards. Dad wasn't so happy when he found out what we were up to. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.